Hey everybody, I'm super excited because this is the very first segment that I'm doing. For those of you who have never met me before, my name is John Deere and I'm a fourth generation embroiderer. I'm a Shifley baby. I grew up in this industry and I'm really excited because I'm going to share something relatively new for most of you, but it's actually technology that has been around for about 25 years. And I know that because 25 years ago I was using this in production. It's just recently been released to the home market, and most of you don't even know that it's available. So this is going to be really cool. It's going to blow you away, and let's get started. What I'm going to share with you today is something called ESA technology. It stands for Embroidery Specific Alphabet, and it is proprietary to Wilcom software. Wilcom has been the commercial leader for over 30 years for software. 90% of the commercial world actually uses Wilcom, and this is one of the reasons why. They recently developed the program Hatch about 18 months ago, and within the Hatch software, within the lettering toolbox, they do have all kinds of alphabets. These are standardly keyboard fonts. Now, I do want to specify that these are not regular keyboard fonts. A regular keyboard font is really a stitch file that has been assigned a keystroke. You do have limitations with regards to size and how much you can modify it. ESA technology is uniquely different because these are not stitch files. These are actually objects. They are objects that you assign size parameters, density, underlay, pull compensation. You can assign fabric types. All of these are automated, and that's why the commercial world used them. 25 years ago, I developed ESA fonts because I didn't want to digitize the letter A 500 times a day, but I did want to have good quality. So 18 months ago, we started to work with Hatch, and about 6 months ago, I started to develop ESA fonts, and very, very quickly, we've developed over 500 fonts. Now, I did start to develop something else, and this is kind of unique. It's actually called elements. The elements are not regular fonts. They are embroidered elements, and if I go to insert character, they are designs, object designs that have been assigned a keystroke. So I can click on any one of these objects and I can tell it to bring it into the software, click OK, and there I have the element show up. And right now it's showing up at 10 millimeters in height. Now I know for sure this is not going to work at 10 millimeters, so I'm just going to blow this up a little bit, and you can see how it actually resized the object. Now I'm going to do something also a little bit different because embroidery is actually has parameters. It's dictated by size. A regular embroidery file, you make it too small, you create bulletproof embroidery. You make it too large and you start to get distortion on your designs because it's stitch files that the software is trying to recalculate. These are uniquely different because these are not stitch files, they are actually the original objects. So if I want to see if a design is going to work or not, the first thing I do is I usually go to the grid of my software and I'm going to turn it to 1 millimeter little squares, and that way I can get a view of how large this is going to be. I'm going to actually zoom in to, let's say, a 6:1 scale, and just so I can see this. And I can see right now that these are 1 millimeters, and I'm going to right now escape, Control A to click on the entire object. And actually, let's click off of it for a second. I'm going to switch over to US, and I'll do the same thing now, Control back, and I'm going to do this at about 3.25 inches in height. And there I've resized the design. Now if I look at this at 3.25, the parameters here, this is actually about 0.5 millimeter. This would be on the verge of being too small. I could probably get away with it because it will come to a point, but what I'm looking for is I want to make sure that all of my stitch lengths within these sat stitches is for the most part hitting that actual 1 millimeter width, and I use that grid as my guideline. Now here I can see that at 3.25 inches this is actually nice and clean. All the lines are pretty much perfect. And if I come in here now and I turn off my True View, I can also see that I can define it by actual properties with regards to auto fabric. So I'm going to go to my auto fabric setting, and I'm going to set this to actually a tie silk. So it's going to be a looser density, and I can see how the stitches have opened up there, so it's going to stitch smoothly. Now if I want to, I can also come into my underlay, and I can control, if I want an edge run underlay to define some of these objects that are getting wider, it actually will put an edge run underlay on this, and now I can see that that's going to actually sew out well for tie silk. Now the stitch count on this is approximately almost 12,000 stitches, and you know, at 3.5 inches this will actually sew out very well. I won't have an issue, and there's lots and lots of detail there. I can see it right there. But now I'm going to do something completely different. I'm going to go way beyond what I would normally do. Actually, let's go back in my properties. I'll run a sample looking like this, and I'm sure it's going to run just fine. It's going to look perfect. But now I'm going to do the unthinkable. I'm going to undo, and let's take out that underlay. Let's go back to my pure cotton setting. Without any underlay at pure cotton, it was actually 13,263 stitches. But now is when I'm going to go way beyond. I'm going to actually go back to metric. I'm going to Control A, grab that entire thing, and now for the width of the design, I'm going to go 195 millimeters. I want this to fit within my larger hoop, which I know is 200 by 300, so I'll have to rotate this a couple times to make it fit onto the hoop. But when I hit the OK or the Enter button, I'm going to see that this is going to become enormously large. It is actually really, really big right now. I'm going to go to a 1-to-1 scale, and now I can see that this design is actually 38,000 stitches. Now the problem is all of these stitch lengths have gotten way too wide, and if I go to my fill and I turn on my auto split, the auto split will look at all of the objects and start to split these stitches so that they won't actually become too long, either activate trims or actually snag after laundering. So I'm looking at this design and I'm thinking, well, that's really not going to look that great. It's 43,000 stitches, and I definitely have a few issues here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to break this apart, and this is the beautiful part of a ESA object, because remember, this is not a letter A, this is an entire object, and I have full control over all the parameters. Now, as long as I have the either editing or digitizing modules within the software, I can go in and I can start to actually change things. I can go to my design overview, I can look at all of my objects and resequence them, and I can see that right now in my resequencing objects, it's showing that this is a letter, and I have it highlighted right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my edit, and I'm going to tell it to break it apart from being an ESA object and break it apart into all of the individual objects that are there. So now that I have all of these objects showing, and I do see, because this is object based, I'm just going to zoom in with my magnifying glass, zoom into this area right here, and I can see that there's a slight split there. I can grab that one object there. Let's just turn off the true view so I can see it, go to reshape, and if I just want to fix this up and make sure that it joins closest point, I can move that one right there, and I can see now that it actually works perfectly. Hit the V button for going back, and then let's escape from that. So now let's turn back on the true view so that we can see what we're doing here. And I'm going to turn that back on, and now I can see everything. Now I'm going to start actually grabbing these objects, and I'm going to go to my select, and this time I'm going to go to Polygon Select, and I'm going to start to outline this object right here. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to try to grab just the objects that I want. So I'm going to very carefully go around the top part. I'm going to separate all of the mane of the horse. Actually, it's backspace there. I'm going to separate that from the actual horse's head. So I'm just going to come in here, very carefully go around till I get to almost the beginning and hit the enter button. Now if I turn the true view off, I can see that I've entered all of those objects. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change this to a different color. I'm going to, let's say, color this one orange now. And when I go, I can see that I have identified that. Now, I also want to come in here, and I'm going to grab these, and I'm going to grab just all of the horn on the unicorn, and let's make that the original color blue so that I have it in place. And now if we look at this, I've separated the two colors. Now I can do the same thing with the rest of the object. I'll go to my polygon shape, and I'm just going to come around here and very quickly go around the outside of all of the mane of the horse, and I'm just going to very quickly come all the way around here and come all the way back up and define all of these areas. So I want to take my time as I go through here, and this is the beauty of the software, is that every single object that is created can be uniquely defined. Now this is going to be really cool. We're just getting started, so once we separate this object from the rest, we're going to be able to go back in and start changing the stitch types. Okay, so this is going to be lots and lots of fun. Now here I'm going to go all the way back to this point here, and I'm going to hit the enter button, and now I can see that I've defined all of that except for this one object that I forgot. So I'm going to hit the control button and hit that one as well, and now let's change that to a different color as well. So now I've identified these by two different colors. Now here's where we can start having some fun, because I'm going to bring this into true view, and I'm going to look at all of my objects, all of my colors that are here, and I'm going to start to rearrange these a little bit. I'm going to actually I'm going to grab all of the gold colors, and I'm going to start to bring them together so that I have all the gold colors together, and I'm just clicking and dragging them all so that I'm getting rid of all of those color changes. And this will actually bring them into one color, and I'm actually going to run this, I think, at the beginning of the design. So I'll do all of these areas at the very beginning. Let's bring this one up to the top as well, and now I can see that I have it actually to two colors. Now I do see a couple of traveling stitches here that I'm not necessarily happy with, so I'm going to just delete that one. I'm going to come over here and delete, actually that one was one that I didn't want to delete, so let's delete this one as well. I can always undo as I go forward, and now I'm going to come and grab that entire object. So if I look at it now, you can see the entire object is actually grabbed, and while it is actually highlighted, I can now go to my fill effects, and I can change this at the click of a button from a satin stitch to a tatami or fill stitch. I can also come in and I can say I want to do a different type of fill, so let's choose a number 16, and now I have a nice rope effect fill. I can actually choose number 17, and it will automatically change exactly how these look together. So now I can see that that actually has a nice rope effect. I no longer have any of those splice stitches. Now I can also come here to the horn, and I can start grabbing these objects, and I'm just going to grab each one of the objects while I'm holding the control key down, and I can take this one and I can change that to a regular tatami. And let's just grab the other objects as well, and I'll change those to a tatami as well. So now I have them all as tatami stitches, and I'm going to grab this part of the eye and let's change that to a tatami as well. So now I've changed all of those to tatami, and actually let's change this color blue to a lighter gold color. So now we can see that we have a light gold on there. And then just to finish it off, I could actually put a monogram on the inside. So I'm going to go back to my lettering, and I'm just going to go to my lettering here, and I'm going to choose a monogram, and I'll drop down this menu and choose essentially any monogram that I want. Now the beautiful part of this is that when I choose a monogram, I can actually do it as an object, bring it in, and then I can change it on the fly to any other letter that I want. So if I want to come in here now and grab, let's say, this one, I'm going to grab the stout 15 millimeter. I'll do it so that it's on any shape. I'm going to just type in my name, and I'll type in John. Let's do all capitals, John, and we'll just do then deer. And then after I bring that in, I'm going to go to my reshaping. I can also come here, I can grab a point, I can make this a curve point, and I can turn it on a curve, and then I can grab this entire object and I can start to, let's just grab that one object right there. So I'll grab that lettering, and now I can come in and I can click it and I can turn it on an angle, and I can just customize it and place it wherever I want, right over here. Let's click it again, turn on a little bit more of an angle, and then if I want to go back over to my H, and the H is for reshaping the object, I can always go in and fine-tune any attribute so I can follow the curve or that line exactly. And the other cool thing is these letters do automatically join closest point as long as they're kerned together. So I can have the versatility of doing whatever I want to this design. Now the one thing that I didn't do, if I turn off the actual true view, is I have to start looking at these objects and saying this is all satin stitches. So I'm going to grab actually just the objects that are here, and actually let's go to our objects now, and I'm going to grab the first object right here, and actually that I could probably do as an entire color. So I'll grab that entire color. I'm going to go to my stitch effects, and I want to have, let's say, a zigzag stitch, and the zigzag I'd want to have a maximum stitch length of 5, and then let's do an edge run underlay. So I have a zigzag with an edge run. And then if I look at the next set of objects, I'm going to actually take those and I'm just going to do, let's say, an edge run. So I'll come here and I'll do an edge run underlay, and that'll give me an edge run around all of those objects. I can then grab just the filled objects, and if I want to, I can grab those and I can change the properties of those again. Let's do a zigzag with an edge run. So now I've assigned the right underlay to all of those objects. Now, all I have to do now is save it out and it'll sew. But before I do that, I'm going to take this design, which is pure cotton, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to bring it to my custom designs, and I'm going to go to my auto fabric settings, and I'm going to change that one to tie silk as well. And when I click the OK button, it's going to go from 66,000 down to 56. That's 10,000 stitches of saving within this design, and it's actually going to stitch out. It's going to look great. It's going to be nice and soft, and the results of this is just incredible. If you can imagine taking this design, which we could run at 3 inches, or we could actually take the exact same design and we can blow it up to 9 inches in height, 9.5 inches in height, and very quickly change all of the attributes of the design, and it's going to sew out just as well at 3 inches as it does at 9. That is pretty much considered an embroidery miracle by most standards that are out there. And this is all just about knowing, the type of objects that we're dealing with. They are not stitch files. Again, they are objects. Now, I've always said that the proof is in the stitching. So I took those designs and I ran them on my machine. And not surprisingly, the design that was 3¼ inches, it actually ran perfectly. There was no unnecessary jumps or trims in the design. All of those objects stitched perfectly. You can see the back. There's no little tails or trims on there. And we had perfect results at that size. Now, the amazing part is we took that same object-based file and we blew it up to about 9.5 inches in height. And very quickly I was able to insert color changes, isolate objects, change stitch types, change properties, change underlay, change density of the design, and we have a beautiful large design that is actually going to sew out perfectly. There's no unnecessary jumps or trims in it, and that is what I would consider a modern day embroidery miracle. Now, this is the exciting thing of embroidery art, is we're able to play with technology and software and machines that, to be honest, I didn't dream possible 25 years ago when I was, working in the commercial industry. So you just have unlimited resources to play with. Now, keep in mind, if you do want to play with the ESA technology, you can go to our Digitizing Made Easy website and you can download a free 30-day trial and have some fun. And we do include interactive videos that get you started playing right away. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we have lots of great great things coming. We'll see you next time.
Hi everyone, John Deere here, and thanks for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with all of your friends. Also, to become part of the legacy, be sure to hit the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell to be notified every time we release a new weekly video. So join the legacy now. It's no mystery, award-winning embroidery is our history.